And we should be live now in the groups. What's up, fellas?
There you go.
Wow. What's up, guys?
Hey, James, aren't you looking very summery?
Well, you know, a little bit of a suntan and some good weather. I don't know. You just got to Florida, Andrew, so who knows?
Well, what can
He's
you
back in Michigan.
I'm back in Michigan. I'm back up here. Yeah.
So, guys, we are live. James, if you just want to check the groups, make sure we're live in them.
I'm gonna check. How's my audio?
Good, really good. I don't hear any echo from anybody, so I think we're good.
Change.
Right?
The technology is improving.
All right, I'm checking.
Let me pull up Facebook on my phone and make sure that it's live.
All right, we are absolutely live. We're in the BBR group, which is great. What's up, Randy? How you doing, buddy?
You want to check the other one too, James, the salon owner? I got it. I'll check it. Let's see. Where is it?
Oh, Sally. Hey, Sally, I thought you were in AC. What are you doing here?
Sally said she was going to check in if she could. She said she was going to AC every Monday.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice. By the sea, right?
The thing is, she only lives around the corner, so it's not so bad for her. There we go. Perfect. Yep, we're live. Looks good. I think the technology is working for once.
Something's got to work for once over the last.
Oh, she gave up her AC trip for us. Oh my gosh.
We won't tell your pit boss, Sally, otherwise they might get a little upset with you.
That's cool. Facebook is doing a closed captions. That's cool. Let's see. Live chat.
All right, so
bear with us, guys. We're just finishing getting set up. We'll get started here in 2 seconds.
So, do you guys think that we need to count this as like BBR number 1 or 1.2? I don't. I'm trying to figure it out.
2.1.
2.1.
2.1. I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I hate that Facebook changed the settings now for groups.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but
a little bit.
We'll
get over it. James, bump up your mic just a little bit, James.
How's that?
Looks like you have AC in your background, James. I
got everything in my background. We're trying out a lot of creative avenues here, Andrew. You know, for us hairstylists, I got to try to either, beat the high score of Miss Pac-Man, or I have to try to learn how to play the drums. You know.
You ready to get started, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? BBR back on the road here. been a little while. Hope you're all enjoying your summer. But Andrew, James, and myself, we've had some discussions on bringing BBR back when we did. What's been going on is we're seeing, obviously, the groups are exploding with the same questions that we've heard 1,000 times. So we want to address that. Secondly, we wanted to just let you know that we are back now, and we will be scheduling out for the rest of the year and attending some shows for the BBR also. So you can catch us here in either group for obviously free education, all the great educators we have coming on. James, we have some big people coming on this year, correct?
Yeah, listen, we're trying to change things up a bit. I mean, obviously we want to thank all of our people. I mean, 30,000 plus of you that are members of the two groups. We're trying to do a few things live, some things we can't talk about yet until they're completely solidified, but we're trying to make it a little more interesting and fun for you guys. And, you have a couple of really big events. You have Intercoiffure coming up for you people that are members or want to be members in New York in October. You have Nikki and Gino doing Mentors and Masters, which will be live on location in November. So I know it's a short period of time and a lot of really good things, but as things have sort of made the shift to be events, we just want to let you know we're obviously still just as involved and engaged in what we do, and we hope you guys are too.
Yeah, so we didn't fall off the edge of the earth. We just took a little hiatus because
we
we've
fell
all
off the
busy.
gin wagon, I think. But
yeah, no, not totally.
That's too much. Didn't send me my case.
So
I'm waiting, James. I'm waiting for the case.
But I'm really excited to see everybody.
It's still Andrew. It's still in the bathtub. I have to wait until I can get the rubber ducks out of there, and then I'll send it over to you. So listen, guys. We've been monitoring the group, and some great comments and things have been coming through. Both Beauty Business Reset and Salon Business Owners Only, and just a couple of things information wise. If you want to engage conversation, the long haul 17 paragraph thing, Facebook isn't great for typesetting. If you need typesetting, talk to Andrew. Andrew does a great job about blogging. Send it to him. Andrew can do a great job in sort of editing it.
Yeah, please. Love to.
No, you do a fantastic job. And if you guys aren't on Andrew's newsletter, make sure that you get on there. We'll have him plug
email. This is not a newsletter. It's email.
It's an email. He's not blogging. He should be blogging. We'll get him there hopefully for 2023.
I retired from blogging, James, years ago. Seriously.
But if you guys aren't on Andrew's email list, he does, first of all, a fantastic job just in positioning his opinion on what he gets in from other salon owners. And Andrew, I have to tell you, obviously I love you, but the email is also such a great way to sort of, I read that and I'm like, oh my God, I can hear your voice in the writing, but the information is just paramount. I mean, it really is fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate that, James.
But the comments and things that have come in, the three of us talk all the time, even if we haven't been on for the last couple of weeks, and sort of that Easter Passover hiatus and sort of getting the kids out of school in my particular case, and Andrew moving and some things. We're just trying to circle the wagons back. But we all talked about the fact that the conversations are basically exactly where we were 2 years ago in terms of services and pricing and cancellation policies and training.
Yeah, I think we have a new animal in the room, though, James. And, but all of what we taught in the past relates to what's going on today. It's just a new pandemic, right? The new pandemic is the economy.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think that and Andrew might agree with me in this too, that the fear pandemic has been here before the economy. It's been before COVID. It's been here before everything that, we've all, our better salons, and I would almost think most of our guests and people that watch us and our fans, we all use software. So the metrics and things are there. The fear of raising your prices has always been a thing for stylists anyway. And then you have the pandemic and you have the pricing changes. And we're not going to go into I mean, I laugh about the gloves. By the way, I always have a guy, and Derek and Andrew know. So where you're
James and
getting
his
your
guys.
gloves,
We need a guy.
just DM me. I'll give you my
In,
guy.
in
My
case
guy.
any of you are wondering, that's a Jersey thing.
That's
Okay,
a Jersey thing.
I got a guy.
Got a guy.
But when you look at the just the sundries part of what sundries were always something that everybody forgot about, right? Even your bigger softwares, and we all know the big names, and we're friendly with a lot of them. They always look to the color pricing and those things, but they didn't realize that developers were going to go up by 20%, right? Nobody cared about developer before. You always looked at the tube or the bottle of color, and nobody thought about the gloves. And stylists have fought for years with owners about the cost of foils. Oh, the foils are like free. And why are you charging? If there was a service charge, if which we know is illegal, but if there was one, they always complained about the service charge on things like highlights. And when a box of foils goes from $5 to $25 or more, now all of a sudden people are in that thinking mode again of just looking at it. So, we always encourage you guys to go back to your software. We know the best of the best, right? So, are we allowed to mention anybody, Derek?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I mean,
Sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, so
I'm
we
not
got
going to do it because I'm not going to.
I mean, yeah, obviously the big ones: Mevo, Forest, Rosie, all friends of ours, all integrate with my platform, Salon Ninja. But there are other good ones out there.
There are a lot of good ones.
It's what you're comfortable with, right? That's what matters. But ultimately, I want everybody to, you see in the bottom here, it says BBR back to the basics, right? There's a reason for that. It doesn't matter what software you're using, doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're following the basic rules and not the rules you learned from an owner who was running everything wrong, and you jumped into being an owner and copied them and thought it was the right way to do things. Educate yourself, educate, but more importantly, use that education and don't just read it, right? Andrew, you're famous for it, right? I mean, this is Andrew's whole performance coaching is if you learn something, do it. Don't sit back and just take in all that knowledge and not use it. It's very frustrating. I'm no longer a coach, but when I was coaching, one of the most frustrating things in the world was to coach somebody how to do something, and then they wouldn't implement it. They said, yeah, I know, but don't implement. You're not going to change your business unless you change what you're doing. It's that simple.
There's so much information available. Everyone has it. Everyone's pushing it. But as a user, you have to use it. And the more you use it, you gain knowledge. You gain know-how, you gain confidence, and all those things.
Confidence, Andrew. Great keyword.
Oh,
yeah. So let's talk about some of those basics, right? I mean, pricing. Let's talk about that a little bit. I don't want to get in depth tonight on anything. I want to just hit a couple subjects because we could be here all night, right? And I know we're going to have some really good guests on how to do your pricing and things like that. But ultimately, and we've already had it on, so you can look at our videos from the past. But ultimately, it comes down to having the courage to just make a change. Pricing, I got news for you guys. We raised during the pandemic. Everybody that listened to us did very well. There were other coaches that said do it also. We had them on here. And the people that did that, I think they were working smarter, not harder, because even if you lost 1% of your clients, you gain 10% more income or more. So to me, that's a smart move, right? If I can raise my prices, lose a tiny bit of customers, but still make more money and free up time for higher paying clients, that's a no-brainer. People are looking at, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the salon down the street. Okay. And they're saying, but that's their pricing. That means nothing. You don't price yourself based on what others do. Otherwise, you're chasing yourself to the bottom. Price things on what you do and your expenses for your particular situation and your unique selling point.
Well, and you guys I know it's funny. I always say this, and I've said this a million times on BBR, that how many hairstylists I've met that said, oh, I got into hairstyling because I didn't like math and science. And they're doing geometry and chemistry all day long as a profession, right? So you guys got to stop saying that because you're all great at both of those subjects. I wish they would have taught it to you differently so you got into the industry differently in the beginning and had a better sound understanding of it. But you use your software, whatever those, the three of our faves, obviously Mevo and Forest and Rosie. There's a lot of good ones out there. It depends on what you need to get out of them. Those three are friends of ours. They all have really great reporting so that you can make executive decisions. I mean, you salon owners need to have something. And what happens traditionally is, like Derek said, you leave a salon that did the wrong thing, you repeat the wrong thing, and nobody ever taught you to look at things like a profit and loss statement, right? So, little gratuitous
or
plug for
James, I mean,
our friend
it's
Chris Beeden,
without getting technical, James, just from experience through what we went through with COVID, some of the salons raised their prices 20% during COVID. Okay. How much of a drop off was there? Less than 1%.
Zero.
Well, for you, but I've had other salons, the maximum I saw out there was a 1% drop. So if you raised your prices by 20% and you only lost 1% of your customers, Jesus, that's a no-brainer.
Well, and we've always talked about this even before before COVID, right? Even as friends, Derek and Andrew and I talked about this before this was a show. And your rent goes up every year if you're not lucky enough to own the building, right? So 2 or 3%. Product costs and things like that go up a certain percentage. Once you learn how that fits into your services, no matter what's going on in the economy, I don't care if there's a recession, I don't care if there's a war, I don't care what it is, you have got to raise your prices 2 or 3% a year. That doesn't count how booked you are, how popular you are, how hard it is to get in your book. None of that matters. That all adds on to that percentage. But just the basics alone, 2 or 3% a year. And we've coached this, right? All three of us in the past.
Yeah, Dawn just asked, should it be once a year?
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
base increase should be once a year, and other increases for whatever supply COVID, supply chain disruption, all those other things, they can be whenever you want. And customers will understand as long as you tell them why you're raising the price. The same reason you go to your staff and you get their buy-in. You say, I'm raising my price because X, Y, and Z, because I am now spending $50 a box for Costco foils where I spent $25 a box, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. If a customer sees that and they understand that it's not all in your pocket, now I hope it is, but regardless, but they want to be in your business all the time, right? I think the important thing is just to let them know. A really smart gentleman told me a long time ago, when third parties affect you, blame it on the third party. Mm-hmm. And it's such a true thing. You're not pulling the wool over their eyes. They know they went from paying $2 a gallon of gas to $6 a gallon of gas, right? They know that shipping and store shelves are empty. And you can say color has gone up drastically because we want to be able to provide you with the best color. Unfortunately, it's out of stock most of the time, so we have to pay a premium.
Well, here's a good question for Andrew. Andrew, somebody just posted, do you notify clients or just do it? So I know what my answer is when we do. What's your feeling on notifying or
whatever you feel comfortable? My thing is whatever you feel right in doing. Whatever your relation. There's no. Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I think it's to surprise people with something not great.
Yeah, I think
too. But that's my personal thing. No one likes sticker shock.
Well, and I think too that your VIPs. So our specialty in our particular salon are people that are 3, 4, 6 week single process colors. That's our bread and butter. So we already know how to pull them through our software. So they're the first ones to know. They're the ones that will say, hey, listen, prices are going to go up August 1st. We're just giving you a heads up. We're going to keep your pricing till October 1st. Like, not that you have to keep it a secret, but you're one of our VIPs. It's inevitable. We just don't want you to be surprised, so we're letting you know. Your 12 and 6 week clients, I'm not saying this out of turn, by the way. I could care less. If it goes up $10, if your partial highlight and haircut price is $330 and you want to raise the price by $5, I don't think there needs to be signage. I don't think there needs to be a thought out team meeting about an email over
It
$5.
is. It is what it is. I mean, it's nice to notify people. Is it mandatory? No. And what I've seen people sending out in emails from a lot of my client accounts is that, hey guys, we're getting hit hard with product costs. There may be a price increase in the future, so please don't be shocked if you come in and the price of your service is different than it used to be. Something to that effect, right? But blame it on what it really is, and it's not blaming it; it's telling the truth. I mean, somebody just posted their cost went from 6% to 12%, right? And I've shared my pie chart of how much money there is to chop up, right? Your professional product should never go above 6%. If it is, then you need to raise your prices to offset that.
So it reflects that. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta do the work and figure it out. And someone said when you're pegging it to expenses, peg it to your margins. When your margins are meaning the difference between your revenues and your expenses, and the percentage there. So if your margins are shrinking, you got to increase your margins.
Yeah, and Anthony just said, pass credit card. This is a famous thing in the group. Some people say, oh, that's a cost of doing business. Yes, it is. But passing costs, right? We know in my pie chart that banking costs should be X, right? Of what comes through in banking includes your credit card charges, all those things. If you need to raise your prices or if you charge a customer back for that, that's fine. I mean, there are a lot of businesses that do it. Certain areas, it's like, you don't do that. Certain areas, customers are used to that. You know your client better than anybody, but don't be afraid to increase your prices is what I'm saying to you.
Someone wrote less than 1% say something when we raise our prices, and our front desk team's trained to tell that client, right? So there's always going to be, the BMWs, the bitchers, whiners, and the bitchers, moaners, and whiners, I should say.
I like that. We're going to put that's a new one. BMW.
So you're going to have that. So we have to just deal with it in a nice way, and it is what it is. With we empathize. Everyone's kind of in this whole mess together, and they get it, and they want you to be in business.
Well, and that's actually a good point, Andrew. So, what we're going to say to you guys is this is just the chat for us to get back together live. Make sure you post in the comments for those of you who watch the rewatch. For those of you that have been with us for the last 2 years, if there was a guest that was on that you're like, wow, I'd love to get them back on, or a topic that you want to talk about, we have the connections to do it. And first of all, we're friendly with so many of the people that aren't just your benchmark, big name marquee stylists that are great salon owners that do awesome things that, we talk about this all the time, that we get wowed sometimes that somebody says, oh, hey, I took what you guys talked about and I did it this way. And we're like, you should have come on the show and told us, because now I feel like we told you wrong, but there's so many facets that you have to think about. And it all stems from the training and education. We're not going to get into the alphas and the hiring crisis and everything else that everybody has. But within your space, you need to define your cost and you need to define how the pricing works. Whatever your commission structure is, whatever you do with your staff in terms of bonuses and things, that's how you have your business dedicated or designated. But you need to have the money to be able to do that, right? Because you don't want to take away bonuses because you didn't raise prices the way you should have. So you have to look at that. It's linear, which is great. It's easy. It's not, there's no, what is that movie, Beautiful Mind? You don't have to write all over the conference room walls that you don't have with the beautiful glass on it. You could just go down and pull your numbers through Rosie or Forrest and look at your software and pull those numbers out and then figure out where you need to be. My bigger issue right now is service, right? Mm-hmm. Is that if you're going to raise your prices 1%, I don't think you have to change a thing. If you didn't raise your prices during COVID, I've known 10 salons, 10, okay? I'm in the middle here, 10 in a 3-mile radius of my house, which obviously is very close to the salon, that all went out of business. That all of them had a great business that, or so I thought, somebody, people that I thought that I admired, that I thought had been in business a long time, some of them 20 plus year salon owners that completely busted out because of what, right? Blame it on COVID all you want, blame it on expenses, blame it on anything you want, but there's got to be a reason for that to have happened that I just can't figure out. And I mean,
Well, James, most of it comes down to chasing the Friday payroll, right? Because they did not budget things, allocate things, or run a proper business model. They might have been making a lot of money, but they didn't spend it in the right places. So, that's usually from, we get to see a lot from an inside perspective from our software of what happens. And it's a real eye opener. It's a real eye opener. I've seen salons that are putting 100 new clients a month into the salon and they still can't make it. Why? To me, that's either a pricing issue or a staffing issue.
Well, and let's talk about either of you guys have anybody you've seen? I have a couple. Anybody that are our members or people that you've seen that have done some really cool things that you're like, wow, that was a great idea?
Tons. I mean, I've got, I have to say one salon that not only do they use our software, but they also, they pick my brain all the time for free coaching, but she's brilliant.
So that's why you've been so brain dead.
I've talked about them, and it's the Beaumont. Bethany from the Beaumont, she knocks it out of the park. Some of the stuff she comes up with. There's plenty of owners out there that have great ideas. We've got a ton of great coaches in here who Patty's got great ideas, right? I see Patty on there now. There's Nikki comes in here, great ideas, right? There's so many people that are working in the box and outside the box at the same time. What I mean by in the box is they're following their pie chart of expenses. This is how much is for this. This is how much is for that. Breaking it up like it's almost like the old school way, Andrew, and you can relate to this, where they had a cigar box and they put this money in here for this money in here for that, and then the profit was left over, right? If there's not enough money to go in each one of those trays, then you need to raise your prices.
Well, and Patty's a great example because, kind of leaning back towards the service end, and service works both ways, right? It works community wise from the sustainability end. It works to your clientele and it works to your staff. Patty does some super fun stuff. She's going to actually be teaching at Mentors and Masters. I don't know what her exact topic is, but she's usually there the whole weekend. So if it's not about what she does with her staff and you guys want to go, you could totally catch her. We promise we won't keep her at the bar too long, but you could totally catch her there and pick her brain a little bit because she does some really great things with her team. I mean, they do dress up days and she's got a great buy-in. And you know what it is? You need a little bit of that buy-in to make that team work, not just because of what you guys do and how you structure your pay and all those things, but sometimes you need to have a little fun, right?
You do.
You need the energy. And someone had a great idea. My team's complaining so much about gas prices.
I think
that's
one of
brilliant.
the big problems, right? And you know what? Give free tank of gas to you. You run a team contest. I'll throw you a tank of gas for whoever does the most retail this week, something like that, right? For buy-in, but it's just you got to make it fun. What I see a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew and James, is that many owners are reactive versus proactive.
Yeah.
All of them.
And what I mean by that is you're reacting to problems all the time, so much that you don't have time to be proactive to create new things, to create fun. You're always running around like the room is on fire. Please don't be that owner. Try and get out of that mindset.
Well, and I've joked about this in our BBR group before, that we've had 9 maternity leaves in 10 years of being open. So I'm a maternity leave expert. So
James, you're treading on thin ice there, man.
I just making sure. Hey, listen, I'm having coffee on Sunday morning. I'm downstairs in the living room on the coffee table. Angela comes down And I literally had the ruler and the lines notepaper. And I said, for as much as I'm a software advocate, sometimes you just have to, the methodical laying out of how this is going to play out. You just need to have that tangible feel of the pen and the ruler and the planning just to make it seem like it makes sense. Because to sit in front of a beautiful screen, I mean, listen, I don't care if you're a Mac user like I am or a Microsoft user, these beautiful screens you guys have with these keyboards that are soft touch. Sometimes you need the old school typewriter to come out and to sit down and start to hammer out how it's going to play. And that's really what I'd been working on all weekends. And then I said, well, let's plan this and let's plan when she comes back. And you start to get into that mode of planning that I'm still using data from my software. So regardless of whether I'm using colored pencils and navigating it in a way that makes sense for my brain, I'm still taking data. The data is there. The data is in your software. I don't care which software. It doesn't matter. They all have to keep some data. It's a calendar, right? At the absolute least, if you have crappy software, it's a calendar. The last time the client was in, their next appointment, you can figure it out.
And you know what? If you swap one for another tomorrow, it's going to tell you the same story.
Wow, exactly.
It's not going to improve anything.
No, but I'll give you two. I'm going to give you two things. Okay. First of all, I'm going to go backwards and say, anybody that's on, anybody in the rewatch, whatever you guys want to see, we're sort of planned out now. I mean, listen, unfortunately, we're already getting into August really soon. We have a bunch of live events set up, which is great. So, between something that we're working on with our friend Rodney Cutler, Intercoiffure with Mentors and Masters, and then you hit the holidays. So, we want to hit January running. We want to make sure there's value for all of you. So we already have our list of people we want back. And
but
you know what, James, Maria just pinged in. I'd like to get her on too. And Tracy said, I think his name's, let me see what his name was.
Brad?
I think it was Brad Poirier.
Yeah, Brad's a rock star, man.
Yeah. Let's get both of them on too.
James, you said something really important. And I think everyone in the group ought to take heed. We're in July now. And everyone knows how quickly things move. Next thing, kids are going back to school, holidays,
Halloween stuff's out already.
Halloween, okay.
We can have a Halloween episode, Andrew.
Right now is the time to plan all that stuff.
Well, and here's the thing. And you know what? And I know that Andrew is better at planning than Derek and I. Okay. Ooh. Andrew's no, listen, there's a million things you're good at, Andrew, besides being handsome and with your beautiful
that goes without saying.
I would never contest that.
Wow. Do I need to change this screen brown with a poop emoji?
Hey, listen, I'm making sure that
there's a lot of slinging the shit going on here.
The accolades need to go where they go. But Andrew is completely right. It's July, right? You could sit by the pool, you could sit in your backyard, you could do whatever. Salons are never like jam-packed in July typically, right? It's sort of like you're in that, staff takes vacations and things. You should be planning your entire September, October, November, December, and January, right? I should do January this way, right? The pinky finger. I book clients when we start to book through the holidays, which we are now. I book that next overlapping appointment into January. Because you know what? You're busy during the holidays as a stylist. You're going to forget. Mary's in every 4 weeks. She's always in the book. And all of a sudden you're going to say, oh shit, I didn't book her appointment, number one. Number two, it gives you a landscape for what January is going to be like. If we learned anything day to day in salon during COVID, I don't want to be there if we don't have to be there. If I can, what were we calling that? If I could condense the book, there's a word for it. Oh, power book. Somebody gave us that on one of our calls. If I can power book and on a Friday, I can take all the clients and condense those gaps and make it from 10 to 4 and the staff can be done at 4 and I can say, hey, we either go to happy hour or you guys go home early. I'm good for both because I'm going to go to happy hour and I'm going to go home early. It gives you the opportunity to do something else instead of sitting there because, Fridays in most salons, East Coast wise, Jersey Shore, nobody wants to be the 4 o'clock client on a Friday.
Nope.
Right? So you're going to sit there with one client with a staff of 4, everybody looking at each other. So work smarter. If anything, over the last 2 years, you should be working smarter. You should be looking at your pricing. You should be looking at the way you book clients. You should be looking at a lot of things. The last thing I swear I have to talk about, because it just happened 2 hours ago. Guys, okay? Little customer service talk.
Sure.
Go for it.
So we've struggled in North Jersey because our COVID numbers were crazy in the beginning. They still toe the line of like, we don't really even know where that temperature is. And it's not just our perspective, it's clients' perspective, it's our local news, it's our local schools. There's so many things that affect our day to day over the last 2.5 years that it's not just us. Like, it's not our perspective in saying like, hey, we love masks. Hey, we hate masks. We just have to decipher the information coming from all sides, right? So we've had a really hard time in doing the service aspect, not the consultations, not the actual services and the great work and the great products we use and all those things. They've always been status quo for us. It's just the customer perception of the experience and what it's like. We've had a lot of staff meetings, a lot of really good comments from our staff. So I would sidebar and say, for you guys that don't have regular staff meetings, go back to your staff, because our staff came up with some way better ideas than I even thought of, right? Because I'm night and day. They were like, oh shit, that was so easy. I wish I would have thought of that. So just let you know. So I go to PF Chang's. I'm not a huge Chinese food fan to begin with. I'm always some type of gluten intolerance in my life. We go for my mother-in-law's birthday up the block in a big mall. I walk in. Before we walk in the door, it's pouring rain here, by the way, so I'm so glad my internet stayed in. I mean, it's been like torrential downpours and flooding. I walk in, park the car, bring the kids in, go in. I see on the door, the general manager is somebody I know. If you guys don't realize, I spent 10 years adopted in the hair industry, but spent 20 before that in the restaurant industry. So it's a guy I know. Got a couple of years on me, no big deal. So I walk in the door and I send him a text as I walk in, and I'm like, hey, if you're here, love to see you. I haven't seen you in, gosh, it could be 10 years at this point. He had already left. We sit down. It's 12 of us. So, you know, Italian families, you go for an impromptu birthday dinner and you got 12 people going in. And it's a Monday, I know. So a lot of restaurants are closed. There couldn't have been more things that happened wrong, right? The food was really good. There couldn't be more things that happened wrong from the time of walking in the door to sitting down to even when I left. I left a little early because I'm not a dessert guy and I came here to be with you guys. It was just, so I felt like I felt bad. Like I texted him. I thought he was there to say hi and maybe grab a drink. And then it's like, hey, who's your waiter? And I'm like, oh, it's this person. It's like, hey, and I had to stop communications because besides the floor that was oily with my new Jordans that I have, but besides doing an ice skating arrangement, you know, I felt like I was in the Olympics on the floor, and the wrong drinks and the wrong food. And, you know, our kids, besides the baby and the family, our kids eat. They order off the adult menu. There were every single stitch of the way something was wrong. And I said, man, there was just nobody there. There was no, and I know the general manager, not the manager, right? I'm like, and I'm buddy. And I said, you know, if somebody took a step back and you guys look at your businesses as a secret shopper, I know that used to be a thing to bring a secret shopper in. Be your own secret shopper. Like, you know,
James, we talk about this all the time. You know, people ask, how do I hire? And this comes into play. Have they ever, the first thing I say to a salon owner is, have you ever looked at your business from the outside, not the inside out? Most of them will say no. Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about, secret shopper, right? Shop your own business. Know your business, how other people perceive you versus how you perceive yourself. You might think you're a rock star. Other people might not, right? Part of that is, I think, is getting your team buy-in, right? Create, you know, people call it culture. I don't know. I call it winning. You know, get your team to have that winning attitude. Like, we are going to kick the hell out of every other salon in this area. Not because we want to see them go out of business, because we're the best. And that's the example we set. You go into a restaurant. I same exact thing happened to me last night, James. And I'm like, Jesus, can't they pay attention to detail? We ordered XYZ. Every freaking thing came out wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, how freaking hard is it to pay attention to the small details? Because if you pay attention to the small details, the big details become easy.
I know my issue always is this, is that, and this is, like I said, as somebody adopted in the business 10 years ago, is that the chef is standing right next to you, less than 6 feet apart, right? We all talked a lot about 6 feet apart over the last 2 years. So if you sit down in the best or worst restaurant, wherever the chef, whether you can see the kitchen or not see the kitchen, however it is, or the chef comes to the table, the chef is standing right next to you. So you need to make sure that your team buy-in is there, like Derek said, but you also need to have candid conversations with your team and make sure that they know that they are the head chef right there with that client. So if there's something they need, if there's something that client needs, if there's something from a service perspective that the client doesn't understand, we've had a lot of that day to day in the salon over the last 2 years where a client didn't understand the prepayment policy or the mask policy or the cancellation policy or all these things. And I really wanted to talk about the cancellation policy, Marnie Ann. Marnie Ann Ryan has a great idea. I'm going to repost it at the end of this call because she's got a really, probably the best way I saw about overcoming a challenging cancellation policy. But, the chef is standing right next to them. The chef came out and said, hey, I cooked your dinner in front of you. What do you think? And if they said, the shrimp were a little cold, the rice was a little too al dente, whatever it is, relay that back because, as owners, especially all of you that are on, we wear a lot of hats. I mean, man, if I put all my hats on, forget it. I would be, P.T. Barnum would want to be resurrected to bring me into a show at this point. I'd make more money than sitting here.
The most important thing you just said is we pay for an experience. We don't pay for the actual service. We do, but really the reason people come back was for the overall experience.
Yeah, the experience has changed, right, Andrew?
Yes, it has. In many places, and many places not. I think, I was just writing a little something about Walt Disney because it was the 67th anniversary of the opening of Disneyland. And by the way, they had a terrible first day. Nothing went right. And I'll tell the little story about it in the email. But anyway, what made that company sing, by the way, is that Walt had vision. And what he wanted were two things, right? He wanted cleanliness and friendliness. And everything else revolved around that. And the employees really got that. So I would ask each one of us, what are those two things in your own vision that you can get your people to buy into and actually execute on in everything that they do? That's your vision. It doesn't have to be anything more than that.
Let me ask you something, Andrew. And this is, I know that you've been to salons all over the world and been in the business a long time. When I love that cleanliness and friendliness. I think that's super easy and it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Every single time, like I said, we're sort of so far advanced outside of our last 2 years of BBR. I feel like every time the three of us talk, we're talking about the years before BBR and now the future. We're it's like Thanos' snap from Marvel. It's like the 2 years disappeared and we came back. Do you think that salons don't do a good enough job in their regular staff meetings of bringing it back to basics to make the staff at least have a starting point?
Great question. And the answer is, my answer is, I really don't know. I think, this comes down to leadership and, people only support what they create. And most staff meetings that I've been involved with don't feel that way. It's kind of a one-way street. and people sit there and, it's like, stop already. I know this, stop.
So Andrew, I gotta jump on that. You're 100% right. When I used to do on-site management, I used to drive and go around. You know that, Andrew, right? Like an idiot when I was coaching, instead of doing it by Zoom. I would go in, sit on a lot of these team meetings, and you'd have two different types of employees, in my opinion. You had the ones, just what you said, stop, I can't take this anymore, right? And the owner was barking at them and whatever it is, giving orders instead of getting team buy-in, right? Or it was just the opposite. The team controlled the meeting and they were just eating the owner alive with a bitch fest. It's got to be creative, right? Come up with an idea as an owner. And I think we even had a BBR on this. Maybe one of the coaches come up with an idea and then get the employee buy-in. Say, this is what I'd like to do. Now you tell me how we can get there. Because then they feel part of the creative process. That's their buy-in, right? They think they're running with the salon, but they're actually helping you create things. And that's really important in my mind.
Well, and for the beginning of COVID, before we started BBR, and Derek and I have been friends for a long time, and we talked about, I'm not lying to you, it was a complaint department was completely open for my end, and I was looking to him for guidance on it. And we talked about something that I modified. So now we've continued to do this where our staff meetings, the nuts and bolts stuff, the stuff that you guys have that like who's not washing their dishes and that stuff, that goes on like an e-blast. Like we put that on nuts and bolts. If there's a schedule change, if there's a holiday we're closed, if there's a holiday we're open, that goes out separately before the staff meeting or right after, depending on how it needs to be partitioned. But we have our meetings as an open forum. No more open forum so much about, hey, listen, if there's any complaints or anything you guys want to change, the week before it's like, hey, listen, we're looking for suggestions if there's anything that you want to add before we have the meeting. I don't like sneak attacks. Listen, I have 3 kids in my house. I don't like anybody coming down and watching TV at midnight to go get the peanut butter out of the cabinet and being surprised. I mean, Jersey boy side, it's like I'm looking for weapons. I don't need to be surprised. So Wednesday morning at 9:00 with the staff at 10, I don't need to sneak attack about what I'm not doing as an owner or a leader that isn't up to snuff. I want to have a little bit of a rebuttal ready to go.
Well, James, you don't like sneak attacks. You create the rules of engagement. No sneak attacks around here.
I love that.
This is how we do things here. And
you brought up a great point. And that's
now you're talking my language, Andrew.
Listen, we're going to do a whole BBR on this. Is the rules of engagement, and that should be one of the ones that are on there. And that should be something that our better salons are able to send out to their staff and say, listen, if there's an issue, whatever it is, no sneak attacks. Let's talk about it. Don't wait until the last minute.
That's part of what, that's part of how we are around here, how we treat one another around here. And when you hire someone, you're really clear as to how we are. This is really, at the end of the day, I may sound crazy, but it's really about the energy that you're creating and you're emitting. And you guys all know that. You all feel it. And so, you want to, if it were me setting up the meeting, I'd want to know what outcome. How would I like everyone to leave the meeting? What would I like them to feel like, when they hit the floor? Was it, oh, geez, that was crap? Or, wow, let's go. Picture yourself. Imagine John Wooden, famous basketball coach, UCLA. Listen to John Wooden talk sometimes. You can go on YouTube. Amazing how he could lift people up. That's our job, is to elevate, not depress our people. People are depressed enough. They don't need a boss who's doing that.
I love that. And by the way, guys, if you look on the bottom, Derek put that little tag there with our fun software about Salon Ninja. We've been avid Salon Ninja users from the beginning, and it's completely changed the way we communicate with our clients. So outside of our regular software and our regular information about appointments and things like that, if you saw what I do, I almost want to put my GoPro on, Derek, and do it day to day. But
you should do it. You should do an over the shoulder. It'd be fun.
I don't know. Well, I have a baseball hat that you can actually put the GoPro
There
on.
you go. Yeah, there you go.
But what I'm able to do with it in client communications, to give you a couple of examples, guys, so that you can go take a look at it and do a demo. We have our 10th year anniversary coming up. It's still a little bit obviously COVID-ish, right? So RSVPs, it's not. Well, it's not like the old days, right, where we used to go in and say, "Hey, we're having a party and there's free prosecco," and you had 300 people show up. Like now, you need RSVPs like the old days and different things. So we've used Ninja to. I mean, listen, I feel bad for Derek because I know Derek programs it. I've used Ninja in ways that Ninja shouldn't be used. I feel bad. I feel like I've abused the Ninja, which I don't know if that's going to come back.
No, you can't abuse a Ninja. No, no, James.
No, but do a demo at least. And if you guys have any questions on it, message me. I don't use it in all the ways that it probably should normally be used. So unfortunately, I'm going to give you the crazier answer than Derek would give you as the programmer. Definitely sign up for Andrew's newsletter. Andrew, where can they sign up to get on your newsletter?
Let's see. Go to
hashtag Andrew. He's everywhere.
Right? Just send me a note, andrew@andrewfinkelstein.com.
No, listen, guys, we'll post that up because Andrew really, Andrew, I love you anyway, but you spend so much time and so much effort cultivating the message that you put out, and it's always great information.
Thank you, James.
Salon Ninja is fantastic. To be honest with you, if you're in New Jersey, don't sign up for it because I'm going to steal all your clients.
So, this, all of you, my prediction.
Hey guys, I don't know if you hear me, but I just lost my speakers.
No, we hear you.
We can hear you.
This is going to be, this coming fall is going to be a dynamite season for those salons that get their act together. It's really going to be good. So why am I saying that? You'll see. Just prepare yourself, have some dynamite promotions, and get your team ready to rock and roll. And you're gonna do great because you're doing what other people aren't doing.
There we go.
And you guys, and listen, we're gonna have a couple of great calls coming up. Andrew's gonna be a speaker at the Board Certified Hair Colorist Conference. Is that in Orlando, Andrew?
No, that is in LAX, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
So come on out. Yeah.
Which is the first time that they've done it in 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important. We're going to be working with Sheila Wilson and the team at Intercoiffure, National Haircutters Month coming up, Stephen Moody, Anna Pacito, some great people. We're going to be, I can't tell you where we're going to be live because we have to get it all approved, but we will be at Mentors and Masters with Gino and Nikki Lee and Iva and Sally and Patty and all of our favorites. I would say for you guys as BBR people, you're really lucky that these are all things that are right on our coast here. So they're all accessible in terms of, I know, listen, we got back from Italy at Davos, and if I told you the trials and tribulations to get home, you'd never fly again for another year. These are all things that are drivable, very accessible, all really great people, great information. We're going to be bringing that to you. Post up in the comments. We want to know who you want to see. All of our past favorites are messaging us like, hey, when can we be on again? So we're working on all of that stuff and putting together a great calendar. But we missed you guys. We love you guys.
Very exciting. Very exciting. So James, what's, and I didn't, because my speakers cut out. Next week we are.
Next week we're got something interesting that we haven't talked about yet. So we have Cameron Hafitz on. Cam's a friend of ours. He's part of my distributor here for Ethos Beauty on the New Jersey and PA market. He's also part of Mentors and Masters, and we're going to talk about private labeling. Who, what, where, when, and why. Big
time, guys. Important because I saw on the boards a lot of the private label companies have shut down during COVID. There's still a few good ones left. Cameron and his family are definitely one of those. So they will be on next week, and we'll talk about what his product, the benefits of private labeling. why it's a benefit to your salon. Not saying you have to get rid of your current lines. You should keep your lines, but you should also have your own label and advertise your name everywhere.
That's it. I love it. I love it. All right. So listen, BBR is back, baby.
We'll see you
BBR
later.
back.
You fellas
Boys are
next
back.
week.
We'll see everybody soon.
Wait, we used to do this, right?
Yeah,
See
exactly.
you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for showing up.